All right, you guys know what time it is? It's time to do some brakes. So I have a full front kit and pads for the rear for my wife's car from Power Stop Brakes, and it is time to do a brake job. So this video is not going to be exhaustive. It's going to be more of a don't be afraid, you can do it too type of video. I've actually never done brakes by myself. 10-ish years ago I helped a little bit once, but that is the only experience I have, so I'm working on basically nothing. And that's why I want to show you guys you can do it too. You can save some money, buy some brakes on Amazon or from your local hardware automotive parts store, and you can do your brakes. I would say besides the actual brakes themselves, one of the most important things you can have is a Haynes repair manual. You should have one of these for every vehicle you own. This literally goes by picture detail, every single thing. They literally tear down an entire car and put it back together. Extremely helpful. So I can easily just go to chapter 9 and hear all of the instructions on how to do the brakes. So that is what I'm working off of. You can also look up a YouTube video. This is more exhaustive, but in case there's a picture or something that you don't see, then you can always look up a video, but we are gonna get started. Okay, so the first step is the easiest one. This should be pretty straightforward. Jack your car up, put on a jack stand, take the tire off. That's as easy as it is. And then basically from here, you are going to see, here's your brake caliper, and there's 2 bolts on the back. There's here and here. You're just gonna take those off, and then this is gonna come off and you can change your pads. So let's get to that. Okay, so it really was as easy as undoing 4 bolts. You undo the ones from here, and then you undo these big ones, and this whole disc just pops right off. It's really, really simple. One tip, always make sure you use a wire and tie up this. Otherwise, if you just set it up here and it falls, it's hanging just off of the brake line, which is not good. So always make sure you use a piece of wire and tie that up. Otherwise, all I really need to do is this is what holds the brake calipers, or the pads. So all I need to do is take out these little, they're very dirty, but these metal clips that are in here, and then the kit actually came with new ones right here. I will replace those, put my new pads in, and we're ready to start reassembling. Okay, so I'm basically just following every step exactly how it goes. You can see I have new shiny clips. I transferred the little wear indicators over to the new pads. These are the old ones. And then the other tip I have for you guys, make sure you pick up brake clean and always clean off any grease that's on these. They always come in the package with a thin film of grease on them. So it's always really important to make sure you clean these off. Otherwise the brakes won't stop correctly because there's a layer of grease. So always make sure you spray them really good, wipe them off. I just did that, and I think we're ready to start putting everything back together. Okay, so I literally just followed the reverse order. I put the new pads in, and then I slipped this back over, which is a little tricky because the brake cylinder wants to come forward. So just make sure you have like a clamp to push that cylinder back, and then it'll just slide over. Everything bolts back up. Got our new shiny brakes here, and it was as easy as that. Really not too bad. I think, for my first time, I think this one wheel took me probably 45 minutes because I was learning, but the next one hopefully should be a lot faster, but I'll skip that so you guys don't have to see it. And we will move on to the rear brakes because I have to replace drum pads as well, so that's interesting. So let's move over there. So you guys can now see, instead of 4-ish bolts you need to take off, there's actually about 4 springs you need to take off. So that is one of them. There's another one over there. There's this spring up here you need to detach, and there's one below. So just make sure you follow the instructions. That's what I'm gonna do. And yeah, you basically just take those springs off. Here's the drum pads, the shoes, and those should just pop off, and then we will move on to putting the new ones on. Okay guys, so I just got the other side on. Basically, it was the exact same thing. You take this guy off, you undo the springs that are underneath it, you put the new pads on, you put the springs back. That is a very simplified version. This is kind of difficult. I would say if you have the option, start by only replacing your rotors and pads in the front. Much easier. I think if I had to give it a time, I think the fronts took me an hour and a half-ish to do, jacking up the car, taking off the tires, doing all that stuff, about an hour and a half. These was probably, the rear was probably more like 2.5 to 3 hours. Definitely a learning experience. I'd say the first side took me about 2 hours. The second side took me about 10 minutes. Once you know what you're doing, it's not that hard, but the first time it's a little scary to figure out how to take those springs off. So it's definitely doable. This is my first time. I haven't lowered the car yet. My next thing is to lower the car, test the brakes, drive it around without anyone else in the car, you know, get used to it, make sure everything actually worked. But I wanted to show this to be like, hey, this is something you guys could do. It should take you like half a day, maybe a day, depending on how competent you are. I have, I mean, you guys can see I have dirty rags and my manual out. I have tools laying around here. I've got all sorts of tools. You guys can see I use big screwdrivers, little screwdrivers, locking pliers were huge, hammers, mallets, like all sorts of stuff. So use whatever works. Whatever's not going to break what you're working on and is what's going to get the job done, use that. So it's doable. If you had a car with 4 disc brakes, that's much easier. You know, side note, rear brakes don't need to be done nearly as often as front brakes because all the braking is done by the front of the car. So now that these are done, I'll probably never have to replace those brakes again on the back of this car. So just because of, you know, because of how light this car is, how little we drive it, you know, it's never gonna have to be done again. So that is awesome. That is all I'll leave you with. I will update you if for some reason something goes wrong when I'm on a test drive. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will check you guys in the next one.